This year, our conference is themed Gas, the Road to Economic Recovery. The theme underscores the critical role gas will play in revitalizing Nigeria's economy, creating jobs and delivering energy solutions that will transform industries, communities, and lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first panelist for this session is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, PNG Gas Limited. Please make welcome Engineer Gabriel Ilenri. Round of applause for him. MD CEO, PNG Gas Limited, Engineer Gabriel Ilenri. Thank you, sir. You're most welcome. It is an honor to have you, Dustin. Our next panelist is the Managing Director, Needle Gas Development Company Limited, Mr. Debo Fagbami. Round of applause for him. Just right behind her, right beside her will be fine. Then just right beside her, on her right, will be fine for you, sir. Please also join me to welcome our next panelist, Senior Commercial Manager, WAGL Energy Limited, Ijeoma Isiche. Round of applause for her. And she takes the stage. Just to be sure, I've not been advised of the presence of the Provisional Director, Group Haulage and Shipping Business at Matrix Energy, Mr. Ganian Aziz, but just to be sure. All right. Okay, if he shows up just before we wrap up, we'll take his place right there on the stage. So that is it, the full complement of our panel. And yes, to drive the conversation for this first panel session, please join me to welcome our moderator, the Associate Vice President of the Gas Business at Earth Energies Limited, Mojisola Iyamabo. Round of applause for her. And she joins the rest of the panelists on stage. Just right beside Mr. Fagbami will be perfect. Right here, close to the lectern, where all the action is taking place. Thank you very much, ma'am, Madam Moderator. It's an honor to have you this day. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the full complement of our panel. And yes, this is session one. Session one is production, impact of new gas supplies, LPG, CNG, and LNG. Remember, we have 4 panel sessions that will run in quick succession. So once we're done with the first session, we'll transition to the second, and the third, and the fourth. And that will be how we'll run the program for today. At this time, I'd like to hand over proceedings to our speaker, who will open this session with our thoughts on the subject matter of the panel discussion. Please join me to welcome GM Commercial and Planning and North Gas Processing Company Limited, Kike Swelling. Round of applause for her as she takes the stage.
Thank you. Actually, it's afternoon now, so good afternoon, everybody. Permit me to stand on all protocols. My duty here really is to help to open the next panel. I was initially given time to be able to make a speech, but I haven't participated from the very beginning. One, a lot has been said. I think the case has been made in terms of gas. And then 2, we're running behind schedule. So I'm not going to make my speech. Instead, I just choose to highlight a few points, for us to be able to lead onto the panel. So really, we've had a lot of speakers speak this morning, and I'm just going to bring out a few things which we've heard. From the speakers, it's clear that, there's a shift. There's a global shift to cleaner energy. There's a global shift, and with the gas reserves we have in Nigeria, there's really a ripe opportunity for Nigeria to be able to anchor Nigeria's economic development on the basis of gas. And so we're saying, a lot of speakers have said it. It's not just coming from me. You've heard it all morning. Gas is the transition fuel. Gas is what we're going to require for energy transition, and then also to enhance energy efficiency. So for me, as we are transiting away from less I don't want to use more polluting because Nigeria still depends on oil a lot. But from other biomass or biofuel energy, and as we're transiting away to other forms of energy in terms of our energy mix, then really we say that we've heard that there is a lot of benefits to Nigeria as an economy. And so really it says, I'm just going to go to my concluding statements that I had before, that look, as we decide as a country to harness the potential of LPG, to focus on CNG, to look at NLNG, let us remember that this journey we're about is not just about energy alone. It's not just about, bringing out gas in different forms. It's really for us about driving inclusive growth. It's really about, energy security. It's really about, achieving environmental goals and really for us to secure a prosperous Nigeria. So we need to fully take away, my last takeaway is gas is not just a resource. It is our roadmap to recovery. We've heard a lot about decades of gas and initiative. It is our pathway to progress. It is our bridge to a sustainable future. And together, all the resources, the vision, diversification, LPG, CNG, LNG, PNG, in whatever form you have it, they all have gas in them. And so really, this is about our determination, with the support of the NLGPA, now NLCGA, right, to make that vision a reality. So I'll hand over to my panel moderator now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kike. Thank you for that opening remark. The panel discussion is going to take about 30 minutes. We would have about 20 minutes where we'll discuss on the topic production. What is the impact of the new supplies when you think about LNG, CNG, LPG? And then we'll leave about 10 minutes for the audience to either ask a question or to share their thoughts on what they've heard or what they see that is going on in the industry. So let me start with Ijoma. I think before we even start to talk about the impacts of these new supplies, I think it would be good to set the scene for the audience. Can you talk about what the significant developments have been in the LPG space, LNG space, CNG space, on a global level, and then taken down to a domestic level where we've seen such an increase in the level of activities going on, especially in the midstream part of the value chain? No.
For every country to edge towards net zero carbon initiatives by 2050, you would find that globally a lot of initiatives are towards transition fuels. So transition fuels of which LPG, CNG and LNG are a part of. So what you find is an increase in auto gas usage as compared to gasoline or gasol, for example. You will find a lot of investments towards midstream infrastructure. So quite recently, I believe it was in the month of May, about $2.2 billion was raised by the International Energy Agency. And then another 1.5 thereabouts was raised by the AGA. So you find that there's a lot of investment funds that are being propagated towards the whole angle of net zero carbon emissions by the year 2050. And that is definitely beneficial to the midstream. Now, let's bring it home to Nigeria. How does this apply to Nigeria, and what are the changes we're seeing in Nigeria? given the presidential mandate under the PCNGI, so the Presidential CNG Initiative, we find that there's been an influx, as you see, news all about the CNG increase of usage in Nigeria. And that has also included the initiative of 1,000 CNG conversion centers in Nigeria. So that's one of the few things you'll find. Also, you'd also find in the last 12 months a lot of investment in infrastructure. Wagel, for example, that's the company I work for. We've invested in 4 LPG vessels. In the last 1 year, we took delivery of 2 mid-sized LPG vessels. And Temile, for example, took delivery of 1 mid-sized LPG vessel. So what you would find is there's a lot of investment towards the infrastructure to drive the midstream sector. In addition, you find like Adova, with its recent construction of the 24,000 metric tons LPG storage facility in Apapa, which is actually retrofitted to take in propane gas. So there are a lot of innovative technologies now that are driving the midstream sector, which is good for the increase of usage of LPG, CNG, and LNG.
Thank you very much, Ijema. Very clear. And I think with this increase, I think the next logical question is, what is the impact? Kike, I'm going to ask you, what do you think is the impact of this new bust that we see with respect to midstream products? What is the impact for Nigeria and for the consumer?
Thanks for that question. Really, when you think about it, for me, it's a lot of positive impact. Ijoma has said, in terms of all the say that is there. So, really, when you look at the impact of it, energy, there has been hitherto a lot of focus on piped gas, really. But with the advent of CNG coming up, expansion of LNG, LPG is making a bigger play. You have that, that is giving us a nice a mix of energy sources that is there, And so you then also have that, these sources that we're talking about, they give you mix. They give you cleaner. They all fall under clean energy. Our speakers have talked about how, gas is the way to go. They reduce our GHG emissions, they reduce our carbon footprint. You have that, gas in the different forms, they tend to be cheaper than what you have in terms of the fossil fuel energies. But for me, I'm particularly excited about how CNG, MNG are giving opportunities for the SMEs to participate in the market. You find out that previously a lot of investment in the gas, major investment, has been with the big players, the big oil and gas companies upstream. But there is more space for those who are not as big as those players to participate in the industry. Obviously, you can remember, if you think about it, the CNG initiatives, they are driving growth, they are driving, job opportunities. So there's the opening in the market that is giving, opportunity for a lot more players within this game. There is benefits, environmental benefits. Earlier on, we had a speaker who talked about, I think it was our speaker NLCGA, about the impact that LPG is making in terms of changing the lives of particularly women and children in rural areas. But in the process of changing their lives, you're also saving our forests. Nigeria has had a lot of deforestation of our forests that is there. So there are environmental benefits to it. There are health benefits, to having that education. And then you then think about it, really in terms of all efforts regarding gas, really at the end of the day, it helps to drive industrialization in Nigeria, right? It helps to drive economic growth in Nigeria. And at the end of the day, we all come into at the end of it, all comes to Nigeria, helping Nigeria's energy security, right? The energy projects that are coming up, the FL energy, the speaker talked about the floating energy projects. These are, new innovations, new in Nigeria, not necessarily new in other parts of the world, but they are going to give benefits to Nigeria, give Nigeria more access to, the LNG share in the global market, and it goes to, part of our energy security. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kike. I particularly like the point around the SME participation. And as I walked into the hotel and I walked through the exhibition
Yes.
hall, I saw a number of companies that I had never heard of, and it was really nice to see that, CNG and the midstream space was in that. So thank you. I'd like to now turn to the value chain. Of course, to get to the midstream, you have to make sure that you get your gas supply from the upstream and ensure that you also have a market to push your product to. Devon, what would you say, given the market today, what are the specific challenges with infrastructure or with logistics that may impact the widespread adoption of this product?
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, we need to understand that whether we talk of LNG, CNG, LPG, we're all talking about various or different flavors of gas, especially LNG and CNG, all natural gas, albeit in different forms, as it were. The LPG, quite similar as well. And one thing we need to understand is that all these forms of gas start from somewhere, like you rightly pointed out, from the upstream angle. Now, in Nigeria, most of the gas molecules, where the resources are based or they are located, are mostly stranded. Stranded in the sense that they don't have a direct access to the market. So one key infrastructure challenge is that there is no infrastructure to take the gas molecules from where they are sourced or produced to the market. So that is one key challenge that we have. Now, even in situations where you actually have infrastructure, in other words, you have pipelines connecting the gas fields to where they are going to be consumed, to the market consumption centers, you still have bottlenecks to overcome, right? Because some of these pipelines are subject to the fact that gas contracts, are basically based off on handshakes across the entire value chain, from the upstream to the midstream and even to the downstream, right? So it creates a lot of issues. I mean, I speak for the company I work for. Right now, we haven't been, we process natural gas, flared gas, and part of our byproducts is LPG. But in the last 6 weeks, we've not been able, well, I would say 4 weeks now, we've not been able to produce a single or process a single molecule of gas. Why? Because the pipeline that evacuates crude oil from the source is inactive presently, it's down. So when the pipeline is down, the oil producer cannot produce oil. And when they don't produce oil, there is no flared gas. And when there's no flared gas, there is nothing for us to produce, to process. So it creates a significant challenge. So those are the kind of issues that we tend to have in Nigeria. And then when you look at a product like LPG and CNG and even mini LNG, you need to move them from somewhere. Even by the time you process them and you produce them, you need to move them from point A to point B. Now, in some instances in Nigeria, in majority of the instances, when you distribute gas locally or these products locally, you have to rely on the infrastructural network that you have, which is the roads that connects the source to the market. Now, those roads are not good, right? And they create a lot of bottlenecks and hiccups for those companies. And I know some of them are here. Last time I drove from Port Harcourt to Owerri, and I saw Greenville LNG trucks, on that route. I mean, these guys are based, if you know the geography of that location very well, they are based out of Emoha. It will have been just easy for them to go down the road to Warrior and then go to where they're going up north. But they had to come back through Owerri, and that's again significant downtime. So these are some of the kind of things that we face in terms of reality. So we need to be able to work assiduously to create the kind of investment and activity around trying to improve the availability and the sustainability of these infrastructure that is very, very important to get our products to market. Thank you.
Thank you, Debo. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Gabriel. And, there's been a lot of activity in the metering space. Government is the number of initiatives, whether it's the PCMG or whether it's just a number of initiatives, especially around CNG adoption. You recall the incident in Benin maybe about a month ago or so. So my question is, as we're driving this adoption, what should we be doing to make sure that from a safety standpoint, we're also driving safety awareness. I feel like that part is missing. And you hear local people saying, oh, government people are coming, they're saying I should change, but they're not changing their own vehicles. See what happened in Benin. What should the industry be doing? What should pressure groups be doing to educate the consumer and drive safety in adoption of this product?
Good afternoon, and it's my pleasure to be here. As you have rightly said, the incident in Benin was something that threw the industry off balance, because as we were trying to gain momentum, telling people to switch from liquid fuel to natural gas, we had that incident. And most people that called me were already telling me that is it not a ploy for government to push the masses into this unsafe area and leave them there to just go and die? But we looked at it and said there are certain things we need to do in the industry to lay the fears of the general public that the use of natural gas, even as CNG or LPG, is very safe. Number one, we have not had enough awareness concerning this product. And what people are just hearing, convert to CNG, convert to CNG. Government has not done enough to sensitize the public about the safety of this product and how it should be used. Then secondly, the regulators also need to do something about the conversion, how the conversion centers are licensed and how these licensed conversion centers are publicized for people to know that if you want to convert your vehicle to use CNG, go to so and so centers. And certain things that you need to show as conversion center for people to have confidence in you that if I go to this conversion center, it is government licensed conversion center. That is why the issue you have in Benin, somebody just went to a local manufacturer, a local conversion center without having something to prove that have been licensed to do such and such a thing. I think government need to move a step forward to give an awareness to the public that if you are going to convert your vehicle to use CNG, these are the things you need to ask for from the converting station to give you confidence that they've been licensed by government to do such a thing. And secondly, I think also the licensing authority will also need to come in here when you are going to renew your vehicle that have something to do with CNG. There should be something, technology that will be placed on the cylinder that once those codes, in form of code, that's once that code is available and you, like a barcode that will be there, if you snap the barcode or it's exposed, then it then take you to a platform to show that that particular cylinder or that conversion was done in a place that is recognized by government. So government need to do a lot. The associations, various associations need to do a lot in enlightenment to tell people that this thing is safe. And it's not just that we are saying it is whether it's not a propaganda. The natural gas is actually safe. It's safer than other liquid fuel like petrol and diesel. So we need to publicize it. We need to tell the people that it is safe for us to use. The government need to do its own part. The regulatory agency need to bring that regulation to make sure that people who are not qualified to do the conversion are not doing it. So I think everybody need to play its own part. The government, the association, the conversion company, and the public. Thank you so much.
Because safety is such a, thank you very much, Gabriel. Because safety is such a critical element, I want to throw this question again open to anyone on the panel. to share their ideas as to what the industry can do, what government can do to publicize safety in the use of this product. Anyone want to have a go?
Well, I think first things first. Gas is not necessarily an unsafe or hazardous product. That for me is the first line of sensitization that the public needs to be aware of. It is the handling, right? That's why you say unsafe handling, of gas that becomes a danger in itself to the public. And I think that's where I think the message needs to be passed around, because people have this notion that, when it is gas, no, gas is probably even safer than petrol, to be honest, right? It's just like when it is not properly handled that it becomes a danger. And talking about inspection of CNG vehicles, I think we don't, as a country, we're dabbling into CNG now, or we're getting into CNG now. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. There are best practices globally. Countries that have, in fact, I hear some countries are actually phasing out CNG right now. Meanwhile, we're just trying to adopt it, but that is fine. So there are best practices that are documented that we can always adopt in how to roll it out, in how to carry out inspections, in how to monitor, and in how to ensure that the environment and the safe and the use of the product is being done safely. Thank you.
I think you said it. I was going to give the analogy that, people hear gas. LPG is gas. We all use it in our houses. We don't shrink because we're trying to turn on the burner to go to use LPG. I think it's similar. It said it's in the proper handling. So for me, government has to do a lot of communication, advocacy, and adverts, do public information that allows the public to understand gas, put it in proper perspective, and not to be scared of it. There are many things, in terms of the skids that are using. I'm not sure if anybody is really producing those skids, or I think they're all imported, and if any is there. So that regulation, the inspection and monitoring, by the government, all relevant agency as it is, would ensure to bring that, sanity in terms of, health, safety. And when people even realize that, look, the emissions you probably get from a car that is powered by gas is better than what you get from a car that is powered by, PMS and has, problem with itself. We're poisoning ourselves, right? And really, gas is a way out that can help us with that. Thanks.
Thank you. I'd just like to add that also the public need to be enlightened on what the different types of gas are. So everyone just says gas. They need to be enlightened as to the difference between liquefied petroleum gas and the compressed natural gas, and the fact that there are different levels of pressure to which each can be used, which is what results in the explosion. The fact that LPG operates at a much lower pressure of 7 to 8 bar, whilst CNG is at a much higher pressure. So if you were to take your LPG cylinders to use in place of your CNG cylinders, of course explosions will happen. So things like bringing some form of enlightenment to what is actually gas, what does it constitute of, and not calling it gas, but actually what substance is being used per time. That education can be done by the likes of the new NLCGA, women in LPG, women in energy, advocacy groups can actually join the government in the efforts to enlighten the public on the different types of gas it uses. I would also like to mention that the standards of Nigeria are actually adopting some form of monitoring and an assessment process, right? It's just that obviously the chicken came before the egg, or the egg came before the chicken, okay? So that monitoring and assessment process is meant to go live by the end of the year. at the different CNG conversion stations and fueling stations, to the extent that if you bring in your vehicle, that needs to be assessed to ensure that it is indeed a certified vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to my panelists. We'll soon be rounding up, and I will be asking. Do you want to make a comment, sir?
Well, not. What is not respected is not respected. So if we make rules in the country and there's no proper monitoring of those rules, people are bound to deviate. There's no sanction when you make rules. People are bound to say that there is nothing, the other man heard the other day, nothing was done to the man, then the other person can continue to do it. So if we have rules in place, if somebody have committed infraction, there should be sufficient sanction so that other people will look at it and say, we don't want to repeat what has been done, and the sanction that have been meted on that person, don't want to also go through that sanction. So we must make rules, and at the same time, if somebody commits infraction, we should be able to mete out sanction.
Absolutely. So we must enforce the rules that we make. Without enforcement, then I can do what I want. But we'll be rounding up. I wanted to ask some outlook questions. So I'm there sitting in the audience and I'm thinking, okay, I want to invest in this space. What do we see? And I'm throwing this open to anyone on the panel as the outlook for CNG, LNG, LPG, especially in the domestic market. Do we think this will continue to increase and become a bigger proportion of our energy mix? Or which way forward? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the industry is growing, and because the industry is growing, the demand is also growing. If you looked at the slide that was shared by the Honorable Treasurer, it shows that the industry grew from about 50,000 metric tons per annum, and we are now around about 1 point something million. So which means more people are using LPG, and once more people are using LPG, it's creating that confidence in people that you can actually use this product. And if you have confidence in people that you can use it, which means more investors are coming on board. So that is why you see more companies are taking FID to expand their operation, or for people to invest in new plants. So as we see more plants coming up and more supply coming into the system, it creates that kind of fulfillment that those people who have been there before, they are making profit, that's why they are there. So you get new comers to join. And because people are using it, it also creates that kind of fulfillment that, those who are using it, they are gaining something, and more people will continue to use. So the increase in the penetration of product to the market is also good for investment, is good for people to say that the risk is getting lower. It's good for people to say that the return on investment is good. That's why more people are going into it. So you continue to see more investment coming into the market. And also financing. Before, you see financing, if you tell somebody you are going to maybe gas processing, they are afraid. But now it's been de-risked. So if you go into the financing world, it's easier for you to get finance for some of these projects. So we see more investment coming in and more players, and it's going to make more products available in the market. Thank you.
Thank you. And last question, I'd like to throw that to Kike. If you look at the value chain for midstream today in Nigeria, where would you say lies the greatest opportunities for investors?
I think, it's clear gas. There has been, over the years, donkey years, a lot of investments in the upstream, right? In the midstream, there's some investment, but there's more investment to be made. And of course, some in the downstream. My colleague talked about infrastructure. There's, The company is building a big, Nigeria is building a big pipeline. OB3 is about to be completed. There is AKK, that's about to connect, the east, to the south around Lagos and up to the north. So there's a lot of opportunity, in terms of infrastructure to crisscross Nigeria. And as you said, without a doubt, gas. There's gas capture to stop flaring, what we have. There's opportunity for gas processing plants. Look at CNG. The PCNGI initiative for me is things that, smaller players can look at seriously. See the massive population we have in Nigeria. See the massive demand on PMS, on diesel in Nigeria. CNGI can displace a lot of that within Nigeria. So for me, I still see there's a huge opportunity space and expansion, really, within that midstream, dovetailing into the downstream of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. I'd now like to throw it open to the audience for questions or comments. So what are our perceptions with respect to these new energy supplies? Are there any specific concerns or insights that you would like to ask the panelists or share from your own experience? So, comment. Okay, thank you. So I will be taking, can I take 3 questions? 3 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, please let's have those hands up. So let's ask the questions very quickly so we can do that right now. Where am I going? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Kayode Sadeko. I've been listening to the talks and enlightenment so far, but I have a question because one of the speakers spoke about information. For instance, my company, I work with a company, we have a fleet of retail stations, and we intend keying into this CNG initiative to create dispense where we can where cars can fuel and also change, convert vehicles to CNG. But there's a challenge of information. For instance, we have a list of materials that are required. How will I know the particular organization or the particular company that sells the approved required equipment? So the information is kind of enclosed. It's not out there. I will need to go to this agency, go to this agency. I get different kind of information. Now, the question I want to ask is, for these materials for conversion and also this dispensable pump, who are the authorized dealers? Who are the authorized suppliers for this equipment? Thank you.
Okay, so just ask your question, your name, where you work, and go straight to the point. Madam Moderator, where am I going, please? Okay? Straight to the point, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, discussant. My name is Ike Henry, NIPCO PLC and 11 PSC, LPG Marketing. My question is this. Going by the distribution chain we have in LPG, we have been having so many issues on transit of these products. Marketers have been complaining of their product being compromised en route to their destinations. Shortages they now claim are from the depots, which at the end of the day turns out to be lies. We'll be seeing videos, clips where we have some clips where drivers are caught siphoning products before it gets to their destination. Even the law enforcement sometimes abet in this act. So now my question is this. Please, what modalities are we putting in place to checkmate this abnormality? Thank you.
Madam Moderator, where am I going next? Okay. Name, where you work, go straight to the point, ask a question straight up. Thank you.
My name is Oluwatobeleyemi. I work with Renault Limited. So my questions is regarding availability of gas, most especially in Lagos hub, that is Lagos and its environment. As we all agree that Lagos Escravos is the only pipeline coming to Lagos and its environment for supply of gas. And with the recent situation, increase in consumption of gas, which include the movement of gas to other West African countries and consumption into other companies in Lagos, the pressure on Lagos Escravos has reduced to the extent that sometimes people at the downstream of this pipeline find it difficult to use the gas that get to them because of the pressure on the pipeline. I got to know that even some company has resorted into LNG, which is far more expensive. And some have to travel their way back far to Benin to get CNG in order to power their generator sets. So what do we have in place in order either to increase the pressure along this pipeline, or maybe there's any modality to have another pipeline coming to this hub, knowing fully well that Lagos and its environment is the highest consumption of gas in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right. Over to you. Is there a fourth? Oh, okay.
To follow the protocol, my name is Felix Ekundayo. I'm a delegate. I would like to find out what your individual companies are doing for supply into the market, which is what the topic of your session was about. And to some of the earlier questions, I would say that the one on losses, if they come tomorrow, there is actually a presentation on how to mitigate your losses and so on. So please, what are the individual companies doing in terms of additional supply to the market?
All right.
The first question was around getting information around CNG, and if you want to play in that space, where can you go and get information? I think I'd like to throw that question open to Mr. Kundayo on behalf of the association, and then anybody else on the panel that would like to respond.
Okay. So the website for the Presidential CNG Initiative actually has on it the list of accredited conversion centers. So for the gentleman that asked the question, that's actually, in your asking, I just verified and I looked on there. So there's a list per location within Nigeria for where you have the conversion centers. So these are legitimate locations where you can go to ensure that you get certified components. I believe that is part of your ask. So to ensure that what you are looking to achieve in the conversion is done by a certified agency.
Thank you. Mr. Kuda, do you want to add to what Ijoma just said in terms of where to get information? Thank you. Second question around losses and product losses and what we're doing about that. Mr. Gabriel, do you want to take that?
Well, what I can suggest is at the point of loading, that's what you put a seal on the loading arm or on the exit of your tank. So if it's tampered with between the point of loading and the point of discharge, it's done by your driver. So if the seal is intact, it means what was loaded in the vehicle is what you are delivering to the customer. So we can use that to monitor whether there is something has happened in between the point of loading and the point of discharge. For the other gentleman that asked about information, I think anything that has to do with your design, your implementation of CNG station, maybe the mother station or the daughter station, you can visit NLDPRO website. You have all the details there.
Indeed, that's correct. Third question was around availability of gas in Lagos. And the gentleman that asked that question said there's one pipeline that helps, and that most times people that are at the end of that pipeline either don't get enough gas, or when they get gas, it's not at the right pressure. We're not NGIC, but from an industry participant perspective, let me throw the question at people. What do you think can be done to improve gas supply to Lagos and pressures on the helps?
Yeah, thank you. I assume he's talking of natural gas, pipeline natural gas now. Okay, good. So really, the helps, like you implied, it's the pipeline network in Nigeria is operated by NGIC, NNPC Gas Infrastructure Company, and shippers that run gas through those pipelines actually run according to the dictates of the Nigerian Gas Transportation Network Code. Now, the trunk line operator, that's NGIC, actually stipulates the pressure that any injector into the pipeline is supposed to inject gas into it. Now, albeit with a small margin of error. So what happens is that there's a lot of push and pull on the pipeline, right? On the network. So the tendency is that certain people or certain consumers who are on a particular side of the network might witness or experience low pressures, right? And this is because the quantum of network space that we have across the entire country is not optimally utilized by the amount of gas that goes through it. Hopefully, when the eastern flank and the western flank of the OB3 is tied together, at that point in time, right, and then when I think ANO gas is coming on screen very soon, right? Once ANO comes in, the quantum of gas they're going to push in there is going to increase the volume. So I'm sure that issue is going to be a thing of the past imminently. From meetings I've attended with the rest of the injector stakeholder group in the industry, with NNDPRA and with NGIC, that is being addressed, but there's a whole lot of work that us injectors also need to do in terms of making sure that we have the right delivery pressure into the network. When your pressure is not optimal in the network, gas might be flowing there, but it's not being packed to the extent that it's going to create the pressure that is going to allow the molecules to move. So be rest assured that the challenges that we have facing in Lagos, which is a high consumption center, is going to be probably eliminated or nearly eliminated in the coming months. Because from what I hear, OB3 is going to be, they're about to complete that troublesome river crossing. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And lastly, is the question from Mr. Akindaya asking from us, from our individual company plans, what are we doing to bring on stream additional supplies? I'll start with you, Jimmy.
So the company I work for, as I said earlier, is Wagel Energy Limited. It's a joint venture between NNPC and Sahara Energy. And my company has a play in midstream, downstream, and upstream. So I would start with the downstream. On the downstream, we're one of the off-takers of the domestic LPG from NLNG via NNPC. And obviously, we're distributing that wherever supplied. So currently, it's Port Harcourt and Lagos. So we're one of the distributors of LPG in country, Nigeria. On the midstream, as mentioned earlier, we already have 4 LPG vessels within our fleet. But those vessel sizes are mid-size and large size. By the end of 2025, we're looking to take ownership of a very small LPG carrier, about 7,000 metric tons, in order for us to traverse one of the issues we have in Nigeria is the very low draft we have in certain access, like the Warri or Calabar. So we're looking to bring in a 7,000 tonner LPG vessel
which would be able to traverse that region. On the upstream side, we have investment as well alongside NLNG in gas monetization of the Oman 11 field. So we have a play in addition, on the midstream, we're also senior partners, Sahara, constructing an LPG facility, storage facility in the Apapa area, which would be commissioned by the end of 2025. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I work for PNG Gas Limited. We are a gas processing company. We operate at the midstream of the gas value chain. At the moment, we have a gas processing plant in the Niger Delta area. We process about 30 million scoff. That plant is going to be expanded to about 60 million scoff by next year. So at the moment, our current production, LPG and propane, is in the region of 25,000 tons per annum. So by the time we expand that plant, we'll be getting close to about 50,000 tons per annum. That is in one location. We're also exploring another processing opportunity in another location, which is going to be about 50 million standard cubic feet of gas a day. If we process that, the yield we're expecting is about 40,000 tons of LPG combined with propane per annum. Apart from LPG and propane production, we're also going to CNG mother station. We've already finished the design and we're about taking FID on the first one to about 5 million scoff per day. And once we've finished and we implement that, we are going to replicate it in other zones in the Niger Delta. Like we want to leave the Niger Delta, come to southwest and southeast and spread our facility around the country. So that's what we are, and we tend to move as fast as possible once we have finished this implementation. Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. I'm with Anogas Processing Company. We are very soon going to complete the development of a 300 million scoff per day gas plant, sited in Owerri in the eastern part. As my partner said, a lot of that gas is going to go into the OB3 pipeline. And so, as he said, we expect that we'll be able to stabilize. Anogas Processing Company is a 50-50% partnership between NNPC, represented by NGIC, as well as Seplat Energy PLC. So as you can imagine, 300 million scoff likely to come on stream anytime from Q1 next year. So this is pretty close. It's quite a fair bit of chunk of gas. So we have gas available to help to power CNG, to help to power LNG, to help to power this. The main challenge really is always about access, about people being able to get get into any of the infrastructures, the OB3, to be able to get the gas from us. Seplat, as one of our parent company, also is into a lot of, is also into the gas play. They're expanding gas production from Oben within the Warren side. So also, there's a lot of gas coming from there. A lot of the significant gas from Seplat is going into gas to power, supplying Azure and a lot of energies. So you can imagine with the amount of gas, you're able to propel 1.2 to 2 gigawatts of power if all that goes to power. But gas from us, we have gas that is going to gas to industry. We have gas that is going to power. We have gas that is going to heating and various other things. So really, there's a lot for us to we have in terms of offer to get. Thanks.
Yeah, the company I work for is Nedogas Development Company Limited. Nedogas is actually a joint venture entity between my parent company, Zenergy, and NCDMB. We operate a gas plant in the Kuala area with a capacity of 25 million scf per day. It originally was a 15 million scf per day capacity plant, but right now we're about to add another 15 million modular units on top of that capacity, so bringing it to 40 million scf per day. So we've been producing LPG for more than 10 years now in the area. But more importantly is that we are trying to create a gas gathering hub. In fact, we have created a gas gathering hub in the vicinity where we operate. 3 kilometers from our plant is a tying point to the OB3 network where we inject natural gas, pipeline quality natural gas into. So that hub is able to take gas from at least 5 different sources within the area. And it has a capacity of 300 million scf handling capacity. Now with that, it means that all these producers who up to now didn't have access into the network can now start processing their gas in field and then unlock the value of LPG that they can extract from their wet gas stream. So in terms of our contribution to LPG, that shows that we're able to, not just for ourselves, but creating value for all the cluster producers within that vicinity to be able to synthesize LPG. Now, looking forward is to take it to the next step, right? Because again, it's all about value extraction, right? The liquids apart, that's LPG, propane, and the likes of it. We talked about injecting pipeline gas into the network, but the methane gas, right? We're trying to extend it in terms of synthesis to another level, by creating or synthesizing a product called methanol, right? In trying to key in with the federal government policy on methanol. So that's our next project. We've already completed the FEED, and we're hoping to go into the detailed engineering design phase in the next couple of months. So essentially, what we're trying to do here is that the methane gas is like we have a farm, we planted corn, but now we have brought equipment to convert the corn to cornflakes. So methane is our cornflakes, and that's what we're getting to with what we're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that's where the value comes from value-added products. I'd like to thank my panelists for your very insightful comments. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I was reminded to answer part of the questions that came to your panel before you close. The question was asked about where to find people who do conversions and so on. If you go onto the website of NLCGA, each of our members has an icon or a logo that says what they do. So if they sell gas, if they convert, there's a logo that tells them what they do. So please be sure to check that out or speak to the Secretariat. On the issue of losses, if you look at the program, session 4 today specifically is speaking about losses. Losses are a particular problem in our industry. We've seen all sorts, absolutely all sorts. We've seen people who have manufactured special flanges to defeat the seal. But the most spectacular that we've seen is drivers that actually apply a flame to the seal, to loosen the seal, so that they can steal gas and then reseal it, and it looks like it's perfect. But we've had experiences of our stakeholders who've managed to reduce their losses from 5-7% down to less than 0.5%. So session 4 will address that point. So on that basis, I'll hand back to the moderator.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to my panelists for your insightful comments, for answering the questions from the audience. I think just to wrap up a few points, I think it's very clear that the midstream space is exploding. There's growing demand. There's also growing supply. We still have issues around the actual gas source and gas supply and some infrastructure issue. There's a need, particularly around gas handling, there's a need to continue the enlightenment, the public enlightenment around safely handling gas and the products that come with gas, and that there continues to be opportunities in the market, huge opportunities, especially as we continue to transition and change the current energy mix to include a higher proportion of gas products. So thank you very much. A round of applause for the panelists, please.
Thank you very much, all our distinguished panelists. I'd like to beg your indulgence. You rise for a good photograph. Let's have Mr. Manas on stage right about now. Paparazzi, please be on cue. All right? Let's do that very quickly. Paparazzi, wait until they have their souvenirs in their hands. Hold on. Quickly, please. You should have just come this way. All right. Paparazzi. Thank you very much, our panelists. Paparazzi, that is your cue. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the first panel session. Production, impact of new gas supplies, LPG, CNG, and LNG. And yes, our panelists have added their voices to the conversation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please a round of applause for them as they go back to their seats. Thank you.